Here I'm checking the nozzle of the drench gun for any sharp edges which may injure the sheep. Here I'm checking the rubber in the barrel of the drench gun and making sure that the seal is tight. Now I'm going to disassemble the equipment so I can sterilize and clean them as needed. Here I'm cleaning the metal components of the applicator with a coarse sponge. I'm cleaning them in sterile warm water with detergent and then rinsing them off in fresh clean water. I'll then leave them out in a clean dry area to air dry before I use them. Now I am reassembling the applicator, attaching the nozzle so that it's sitting correctly. The hose on the applicator was very dirty, so here I'm showing how I cleaned it by alternating between warm water with detergent and fresh clean water. I triple rinsed, so I went through the warm water and then the fresh water 3 times each before allowing it to air dry. I have an empty bucket for the wastewater, which I will dispose of correctly when I'm finished. Here I'm just placing my finger over the nozzle of the applicator to make sure that I'm not able to depress the handle, which worked correctly. Now I'm just checking for any leaks in the hose or in the applicator. Here I'm showing my PPE, which is disposable gloves which are correctly fitting, and my face mask. This should be an approved dust mask or a respirator, and it must fit correctly around your face. These are some examples of storage sheds. Extremely important is ventilation, lighting, flooring, ensuring there's no runoff. The shed must be lockable and display chemical signage on the outside. Powders should be stored above liquids, and use of impervious shelving is needed for liquids. You'll need an appropriate spill kit for the chemicals you have. This is a box you could store the SDSs in just outside the door for easy access while in and out of the shed. A chemical shower and a basin for washing your hands after using chemicals is very important, as is a stocked and regularly checked first aid kit. This image shows the dose rate and the label of the chemical that I will be using. Here I am adjusting my dosage rate and priming the applicator to ensure the correct rate, which is 13 ml. I don't have access to PPE for the purpose of this video, but you should be using eye protection, a respirator, cotton coveralls buttoned up to the wrist, and elbow-length PVC gloves when handling large amounts of the chemical. Here I've simulated a spill using a powder, which is what my product is that I'm using. So I've immediately contained the spill by lifting up the container and sealing. The chemical SDS has recommended I use a shovel and a broom to sweep up what's remaining and place the remainder in a sealed container for recycling, or I can dispose of it at my nearest chemical disposal station. So making sure I'm putting it in a sealed and labelled container, and I immediately wash off my gear, my shovel and my broom to make sure there's no cross-contamination or unplanned chemical reactions. Here I'm doing my calibration. So I'm putting the 10 squirts into the measuring jug. My dose rate is 13 ml, so I should come up with 130 ml. You can see here it was right on 130 ml. I've shown the maths that I've done to work out that the calibration was correct. Here I'm returning my liquid chemical to the makeshift chemical store, making sure I put it on the bottom shelf so if it spills it won't damage any powders or cause any reactions. My chemical is part of the Drum Master system. It must be triple rinsed. You can use a system like this or a pressure washer. Here I'm rinsing out my equipment, reversing what I did at the start, so rinsing with warm water with detergent and then rinsing with fresh water. And then I will leave them out to air dry. Your PPE can be washed or disposed of, depending on, I'll dispose of my gloves and my mask as they're single use only, but some coveralls, elbow length gloves may be able to be washed. It's important that the person doing the laundry is aware that they've been in contact with chemicals in case there's a cross-contamination risk or a risk of that person getting injuries from being exposed to the chemicals. So I'm making sure I don't touch my skin when I'm removing the gloves to ensure cross-contamination, and I'll wash my hands straight after.